Hello, this is Kaylin Huntress, and today we sprang forward in New Zealand. The clock's all set an hour forward, and I love the springtime. The flowers, the sunshine, the better weather, there's a lot of great things I love. But now that we're getting into time zone change season, it's a mess. See, I have to keep this page in the back of my Moleskine journal. Let me show you this real quick. Over here, I've got on the back page of my Moleskine, I always keep the time zone changes of when we fall back, when we spring forward in New Zealand. It's not the same as when we fall back in the United States. So I actually have to continually readjust, not just for myself, but for my international clients. So we've got 6 weeks apart between when I spring forward and they fall back. So we're 4 hours apart from Pacific time here in New Zealand for the next 6 weeks. And then we go down to 3 hours apart for 5 months. And then we are 4 hours apart for another few weeks. And then 5 hours apart. It's a mess. It's a total mess. I have to manage these time changes for multiple time zones and multiple continents all the time. And the reason why we originally started doing daylight savings time was it was not because, as some supposed, to conserve candles, as a satirical letter from Benjamin Franklin proposed in 1784. It wasn't even in 1895 when an entomologist in New Zealand named George Hudson said, hey, let's change the clocks every spring just for the Philosophical Society so I have more time to examine insects. It wasn't until 1916 when the German Empire and Austria-Hungary said, okay, we're going to organize this and we're going to actually do some coordinated clock switching. Before that, it was common for any particular region to have its own noon. When the church bells tolled noon, that's when noon was, and you could set your clocks around that. But then with the invention of railroads, this became a real problem because leaving this town at 12:05 on a 50-minute trip didn't necessarily mean that you were going to land at 12:55 in the other place because they had a different time. And so as timetables were standardized with railroads, it became important that everybody had the same noon and the same midnight and every minute in between. And with the internet, this is super important, because we've got some programming transactions that happen millions of times a second on servers thousands of miles away. So having the correct time, it's imperative. Having our internal clocks for all these different computers in all these different regions, always changing what hour it is, it's stupid. It's stupid, and we should stop it. I think we should stop daylight savings time altogether and move on to just having a universal time that we keep all around the globe. Well, we'd still have time zones, of course, so that if you're further to the east or further to the west, then it does, within that block, move forward and backward. But changing for the calendar twice a year, there's already so many regions that don't do daylight time. Arizona is one of the states in the United States that doesn't do it. There's some countries that don't do it at all. And I like the purity of having a noon today that's the same as the noon 5 years from now, no matter what day of the year it is. There was this difference between the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar that exploded over a couple of centuries in the 1600s. The Julian calendar, let me see, do I have this right? Yes, the Julian calendar didn't have leap days in it. And then Pope Gregory started the Gregorian calendar when they did add leap days. And so the countries that kept the Julian as opposed to the Gregorian calendar started to go apart, to the point where in France and in England, they were like 13 days apart at one point. And what you called June 13th in France was a totally different day in England on that day. And so it made all these difficulties in terms of commerce and keeping records and trading data. And that's what I'm seeing with daylight savings time. It's just complicating things. I'm really glad that we have automated calendars that handle a lot of this for us, but I'm really ready for daylight savings time to be a thing of the past. How do you feel about it? If you agree with me, leave a comment below and tell me why. And if you disagree with me, leave a comment below and tell me why. I'd love to hear it. So I will see you around the internet. I'm out of here. Where's my finish button? I have a finish button. I'm out. There we go.